Okay, I'm going to argue. This is odd for me, but I think I can do this. I think I do a decent job. I'm going to argue on behalf of pampered, and I mean really pampered, teenage football and basketball recruits. Let me give you some perspective on this, and I want you to then think. I know there's no way most people have ever been through anything like being a star recruit, but I want you to try to think in these terms and then have an appreciation for where they're coming from. And then I think if you have an appreciation for where they're coming from, then I think you'll have some understanding of how messed up the world of big-time college football and basketball is right now, particularly with coaches. And there's a reason why I bring this up, because the Kentucky vacancy in basketball reminds me of all that is going on now. So think right now, for all of you, think, pretend, fantasize, which would be weird, whatever it takes, think like a high school recruit. You know what a high school star recruit is like? It's exactly the opposite of your experience in going to college. Okay? Most of you, if you went to college, you had to apply, and you had to hope like crazy to get in. You had to beg to get in. You had to take the students' loans to get in. It was a grind to get in, even when you were a good student. When you're a star recruit, it's completely opposite. Everyone is chasing you. Then you get to select who gets to chase you. It's flipped on its head how 99 out of 100 of you, if you went to college, how you got into college, how you applied, the process you went through, which is a great life lesson anyway, but that's part of the problem in being a star recruit is from day one, you're being chased. So when you recruit, they're chasing you. They are pampering you. They are filling your head all the time with everything you would like to hear. If you were in the spot of a high school recruit, you get to pick the 30 or 40, you're going to get 40 or 50 offers, scholarship offers. Then you will, start to weed that process down. Some of them will give up immediately when they find out the blue bloods are recruiting you, and they'll give up. Others, your mid-level programs, when the blue bloods are recruiting you, they'll eventually give up, but they'll try. Some of them try. And I have experience with this. I wasn't a big-time high school recruit. I was recruited enough to know. And then I ended up as a college player taking out enough recruits to know exactly how badly we wanted them or didn't want them or whatever the situation was. So I want you to try to think completely opposite of if you went to college, your process, and it's what a recruit does. So if you're in the spot of being a recruit, what would matter to you? Think about that. Now you're going to say academics and stop that. Okay, stop. What would matter to you? If 50 schools are chasing you, if 50 schools are filling your head with you're going to be the next great fill in the blank, can't wait to get you the ball, can't wait to get you in our program, can't wait to send you off to the NFL draft or the NBA draft, your head is filled with that all the time. You are the greatest. That's what you hear nonstop for well over 2 years, in some cases 3 years. Now, when I was getting recruited, it was the nerdy schools mostly, and then Texas came in late. And to me, it was pretty easy for me. The prestige of playing at Texas meant everything to me. I was a kid who grew up here. The idea of playing in a prestigious program like that meant a lot. I'd been on a field a bunch of times, so I knew what the environment was like. Plus, academics mattered. Plus, the city I loved. But to a lot of guys, go back in time, not me, but to a lot of guys, the opportunity for exposure, the draft, cool uniforms, how soon they'll play, and being close to home, and then in rare cases, academics, that was the order. That was the order. Okay, prestigious programs had first chance. It mattered. Exposure mattered. The draft mattered. Yes, uniforms and stuff mattered. How soon they would play mattered. In many cases, being closer to home mattered. And in rare cases, academics. Now, that's the way it used to work, almost in that order, but not exactly. Then it sort of morphed over time. Nick Saban did a masterful job of this, saying, look, what matters to guys is getting into the NFL. What matters to guys is getting into the NBA. That's what matters most. Sell them on that, you'll do well. It's exactly how Nick Saban built the foundation. That's what used to matter. 3 years ago, that's what mattered most. And it still does matter. What matters now? What matters now? And you would do the exact same thing, any one of you. What matters now is money. And any one of us would do the exact same thing. It would go this way: money, the draft, the training. Or money, training, the draft, or the draft, money, training. Whatever. That's what matters. If you were 17 years old, go back in time. I know we're all stupid, but go back in time and think about your college process, trying to get in. Imagine this. Imagine a school came up to you and said, we'll pay you $50,000 to $100,000 to come here. Imagine what you would do. You would run over your entire family to get to that campus. $50 grand. When most people graduate, they're not even going to see $50,000. Imagine somebody at 17 telling you, we'll get you $100,000 in a car. Nothing else would matter to you. That's it. And the first time you heard it, then the next one that says, and the next one, the next one, the next one. That's what matters. And it would matter to any one of us. So it's really easy to be harsh and judge these pampered teenagers, but we wouldn't be any different. I mean, the idea of somebody throwing $50,000 at you when you're 17 years old just to come to the school, you would jump at the chance. You would jump at the chance. It would be all that you could hear. It didn't matter what else was going on. That cash would matter most. Cash matters now, and you're not even 17. So you get it, right? I mean, you can understand where they're coming from. Now, I say that because coaching in big-time college football and basketball has become the same thing. Hear me out. It's become the same thing as being an investment fund manager. That and, not or, you're an investment fund manager and, not or, the job is also about being a used car salesman. I think I can explain the two parts. What's been happening with coaching openings, in particular Kentucky, right? Here's a blue blood program. If you're above the age of 30, it matters. 35, it means a lot. This week, I've already said it's like Notre Dame football. To anyone of a certain age, it means a lot. But if you're 17 and it's about money, what matters? What really matters? The money is all that's going to matter. So what's happened, and I think it's significant, it's the very thing SEC programs are afraid of, and for good reason. This is exactly what poorer states with schools are afraid of. Eric Musselman, for example, this is where the dominoes started. Eric Musselman was the head coach at Arkansas. They are, 2 years removed from a Final Four? Right? I think it's 2 years. And very good coach. 2 years removed from a Final Four appearance. He left to go to USC. USC is a mediocre program that doesn't even have a member of the LeBron James family anymore. Okay, he took that job for the same reason I would argue that Steve Sarkisian won't leave Texas or anything other than the NFL. It's the same reason Deion Sanders will eventually, and I think fairly soon, will leave Colorado. And the reason is access to capital. I can't think of another way to put it. Access to capital. Remember, if you're a recruit, what matters? What matters to you? You're going to go where they get. If somebody throws money at you, you're going to take it. You're going to go. You're crazy not to. Imagine coming from a poor family. Imagine coming from a middle-class family and somebody says, $30,000 just to go to that school? Hell yeah, take it. And a car? Are you kidding? Most people are in debt when they go to school. These guys are now getting to chase cash. And the programs that have the cash are going to win. And the coaches are going to go to places where there's access to capital. So they're fund managers. They're chasing not just capital, but they're chasing access to capital. Not capital for the coach. The coaches are getting paid, but capital to give to the players. It doesn't matter, or though it doesn't matter about uniforms. It doesn't matter about prestige. If you can't tell that 17-year-old you have the cash to give them, you're going to lose. And a lot of programs don't have the cash to give them. I'm saying, without him saying it, this guy leaving a Final Four program to go to USC, which is mediocre at best, is because I think he knows the only chance you have to win is to have access to capital. And some places are going to have far easier access to capital to give to the players than others. That's what the SEC is worried about. That's what Arkansas is worried about. That is exactly what will hurt them. They don't have access to capital like he will have at USC. So Arkansas has little access to capital, I assume. Otherwise, he wouldn't have left. The reality is that schools in poor states, I know this is really tough to handle, but this is why there's a freak out in the South. Okay, schools in poor states with an alumni base that's not super rich are at a huge disadvantage. And I think this past week proves it. If you didn't know it already, it proves it. And I don't know when a coach is going to say it. I think Deion Sanders almost said it this week. Steve Sarkisian's not going to say it. I mean, I don't care what job comes open. I don't care what job it is. If you sit there and look at the landscape and think, okay, what chance do I have with a 17-year-old if I'm at some school in Mississippi? The head coach at Mississippi recently, he outed the whole system. He said half of his day is chasing people that can give him some money. He's chasing access to capital. He's got to get some cash. And it's not easy in Mississippi. And he said, I spend 9 to noon most days of the week driving around the state, meeting with people, trying to get some money. Because that's what you have to turn over to a high school kid. That's the process. And obviously in Mississippi, it's a little bit tougher. In one block in Austin, you have more access to capital than you do in the entire state of Mississippi. Not even one block, probably one coffee shop. So the schools, I think, in poor states, I mean, the Kentucky job wasn't filled by everyone. Oh, that's a blue blood program. Yeah, but you don't have much of a chance. You don't have much of a chance because you don't have access to capital. Handouts. Here's the way to think about it, and the coaches, I think, are making it obvious. The decisions now are making it obvious. It's the reason coaching at Kentucky sounds great, but really it's much tougher than you realize, and I think they know it. The comparison I would use is like this, right? I mean, think of it this way. And remember, you're 17 and a recruit, so if somebody was able to throw cash at you, you're going to jump at that chance. If a coach at Texas can throw $50,000 at you and you're 17, and a coach at fill-in-the-blank Mississippi or Kentucky is saying, I think we can get you 20, what are you going to do? You're not going to say, no, I can't wait to be there because you guys were so good at the 50s. You don't care. There's no way you would care. There's no way you should care. Think of it this way. Here's the comparison. The battle out there for these coaches. I know the coaches are making money. I'm saying access to capital. It's like raising money in Austin and how easy it is to raise money in Austin versus raising money in Amarillo. I'm not saying it's easy as too easy, but it's a lot easier in Austin than it is in Amarillo. And that's the problem they're all running into. And it's not anyone's fault. It's the reality. And if you were 17, you would make it a reality. That's the job now. You need to raise money to give to players. You need the access to money. And coaches are going to go where the easiest access to cash is because that's what's going to close the deal. Any one of us would do the same thing. The used car salesman part is this. Remember, you have to be a fund manager. You know, when you're a fund manager, you got to call people, just call all your rich friends all day, every day. You're just on the phone, working the phone. I got an investment for you. So you're constantly trying to find people with capital. You go to every country club there is. The other part is the used car salesman part, and that is these coaches that can't raise the capital because they're in poor states or alumni bases that just don't have it like a USC or a Texas. They have to spend a lot of their time convincing players to stick around. And I think more coaches are going to start talking about this. they're basically saying to a player, so you're 17, you've had an okay season, you're not thrilled with it, you're hearing about other people making $50 to $100,000 to $250,000. You hear about some teammate of yours going to Texas, gets a Lamborghini. You sit down in the coach's office and say, man, so-and-so got $100,000 to go to Texas. What do you got, coach? And that's when the coach has to sell you a used car. He doesn't have the capital. He can't match. You can't match Texas Lamborghini for Lamborghini. That's why these dudes are leaving Alabama to go to Texas. That's why the head coach at Arkansas is going to USC. He's got a better chance there. So then they have to turn around and they have to sit down with you when you're getting whiny about it, saying, man, I want $100,000. You gave me 10 to come here. That's cool, but I want 100. That's the point at which they have to sell you that the 2014 Camry is really a Range Rover. Please stay. I'll throw in the leather seats. That's their next job. That's the job now. It really is. You can see it by these moves, right? You can see these programs that you think, right? When most of us when I grew up and I was a recruit, the stuff that mattered then, to me in particular, but even dudes that got recruited with me, doesn't matter now. All you had to say is one phone call. I got $100,000 for you. Anyone on the phone would say, yes, I'll take it. Right? Absolutely. Well, you got 150, you got 200. You got 250 and a Lamborghini, I'm there. Tell me you wouldn't say yes. And if you were a coach somewhere, you'd look out there in the landscape and go, what am I going to do? That dude's sitting in Austin where 2 phone calls and you've got 5 Lamborghinis. The dude in Mississippi or Kentucky is going to take a month and a half to find any of that, if that. That's why I think they're moving. Leave it to Deion Sanders, because most of these coaches won't just come out and just say it. I wish they would. I don't know that it would change things, because you wouldn't change if you're 17. Remember, you're a 17-year-old recruit. You'll take the cash. They just need the money to give to you. Deion Sanders went off on, it's called name, image, and likeness. I said in the beginning, it's nothing like that. It's not about endorsement deals. And I've said it from the very beginning. Very few companies are going to hire a 17, 18, 19-year-old college football player to pitch their product. It happens, yes. It is rare. And if you were running a business, you wouldn't do it either. The only thing worse than hiring a teenager to pitch your product would the CEO themselves pitching the product, which usually doesn't work, or their kids. But businesses aren't doing. This was never about a business hiring these players.
NIL is not a problem with me. Collectives are. Let's talk about NIL. Name, image, and likeness. What kid out of let's just take it to high school part first, that is notable enough that a CEO of a major company is going to lay it on the line for a kid that ain't nobody know?
Not many.
There you go. So it's not NIL. It may be 4 guys in all of college football that we've seen on a commercial nationally. We happen to have probably 2 of them here. Okay, Shador and Travis. NIL, they're killing it. Collectives, you could be Tom, Dick, Harry, and Larry, and you just put a bag together.
Yeah.
Boosters or whatever, whoever does it, and try to solicit these kids to come to your university. How is that helping? I want the kid to get compensated. I want him to be straight, by all means. But you got to balance the fine line. Is he still going to want it like that when you've just given him that and he didn't have to earn it? I wish it was a kind of a way to measure your ability and what you bring to the table.
Yeah, before.
Yeah. And I have no problem whatsoever.
And
it's exactly right.
I think
it's what I've said from the beginning. Look, if you're 17, you're going to take the bag of cash. You take a bag of weed, probably, if you're 17. It would outweigh anything else. It would outweigh the idea, they're going to throw 100 passes to me. I'm going to start my freshman. I mean, none of that stuff everything in your mind would be cluttered the minute somebody presents to you cash. They're not endorsement deals. It's just cash. cash and prizes. Who wouldn't do it at 17? Who wouldn't do it at 50? I mean, really. And so if you're a coach and you're thinking about your next move or what your problem is, why you can't win, is because you can't get access to that cash, those collectives. It's just a slush fund. It's exactly what it is, and he's got the guts to say it. And it's going to be the reason why he ends up leaving. It's going to be the reason why he leaves. He's going to lose out and think, wait a minute, why am I losing out? I'm Deion Sanders. And the answer back is, because you didn't have $100,000 in cash for me, bud. They did. That's going to send him somewhere else. That's exactly why coaches will move or not move. And these southern schools in particular, but these, football factories. I mean, I don't care if it's Notre Dame. It doesn't mean as much to a 17-year-old anyway, and they don't have any chance to hand over cash. What else is weird about the whole thing? You ever thought about this? Why? What's the point in giving that money? Like, think about yourself. You have the money, you want to give the money. You care about your school. I mean, it's not even your school. It's whatever. It's not investment. There's no return on this. If you're investing in art, at some point you're going to flip the art, right? That's not what you're doing with and you're giving cash to a 17-year-old. What is that investment? What do you get back? So it's not art. Not going to sell it. It's not a racehorse. Can't sell it. It's not an investment in any capacity. It's not direct ownership, but I guess it's ownership. I mean, isn't that a weird mindset? If you give money to the nursing school or the business school or, what at the law school, the idea is that there's going to be some positive return. If you have money and you hand over money, what's the positive return with a 17-year-old football player? That's kind of sketchy by itself. It's a weird mindset. People are doing it, obviously, and people that have money. And for all I know, maybe they're the same people that give to the nursing school, which is exactly what we all should be doing. But there's no way it's an investment. It's just a weird relationship of some pseudo-ownership that's pretty icky.